beautiful, beautiful day, and we are currently 3 weeks out. Show day has actually been pulled forward by a week, so instead of September 12, it is now September 6, and that means we have a week less in prep. So things are starting to ramp up a little. It's definitely been a very challenging last couple of weeks. I'm still really excited and looking forward to hopefully still going ahead with the show, but that will be all at the call of coach, who will confirm later at the end of this week. It's currently Friday, so hopefully by the end of this week we should know whether I will still be going ahead with it or not. Otherwise, if not, then we just reset, slowly reverse out of this phase, and hopefully get back to a proper health phase. I guess the good thing for me today is I'm on my second day of 3 refeed days, and I am feeling absolutely replenished. Such a good tool to use. Cycling, carbs, especially when you're in a deficit and you just feel like you need that extra push in energy to support recovery and also just reset mentally. And it just sucks because in the past couple of weeks I've also been getting sick just because my immune system hasn't been the best, and having an autoimmune disorder, I have ITP, which is immune thrombocytopenia purpura. I first discovered I had ITP back in 2013, around the time I was doing my HSC, which is the final year of high school here in Australia. For anyone who hasn't heard of ITP, it's basically when your immune system destroys and attacks your blood platelets, which are the cells responsible for clotting when needed. At the time, I thought I just had another flu and a random nosebleed, but the bleeding would just not stop. I ended up rushing to the ER where they had to stick rapid rhino tubes up my nose. And not only that, they had to inflate it with air once it was all the way down to where my throat was, just to fill in the gaps and block any blood that could escape. Probably why my nose looks a bit wider now, but having those shoved in was easily one of the worst pains I've ever experienced in my entire life. To put into perspective, a healthy adult platelet count ranges anywhere between 150,000 to 400,000 platelets per microliter. Mine had completely collapsed to below 5,000. I was at serious risk of bleeding out internally, and the only immediate fix was an emergency blood transfusion. Fast forward 10 years later, and my immune system decided to go haywire again. What started out as a tiny rash that my GP initially thought was a simple fungal rash escalated into something much bigger, and it spread like wildfire across my body. The ER nurses thought it was shingles, but it was nowhere close. To this day, despite endless tests, the root trigger remains unknown. The only thing that actually helped it go away was the good old anti-inflammatory drug, prednisolone. These are just 2 chapters of a much longer story. I'm not sharing this for pity or sympathy. I'm just sharing it to give a bit more of an insight into what it actually means to navigate life with an underlying autoimmune condition. Which brings us to bodybuilding. What started out as a lifestyle quickly turned into a genuine passion and a competitive pursuit. And being completely transparent, as an enhanced competitive bodybuilder, I knew the risks involved before I ever signed up. Bodybuilding prep on its own is already extreme as it is. You're pushing extreme leanness, dealing with caloric deficits, heavy training loads, and fatigue that just compounds. All of that suppresses the immune system. When you combine that with PEDs and pre-existing immune issues, the margin for error is razor thin. I wanted to see how far I could push my potential. To do that without destroying my health, it means I can't afford to, I guess. I have to be 10 times more calculated than the average lifter, and that starts with regular, comprehensive blood work. Here are the key markers I stay on top of year-round. Full blood count, your hematocrit. This monitors blood thickness. Gear pushes your body to produce excess red blood cells. If your hematocrit gets too high and your blood becomes thick like sludge, it puts extreme stress on your cardiovascular system. And it is likely you could potentially go into hypertension if it's not monitored or managed. Another one is your lipid panel. Anabolics are notorious for crushing your good cholesterol and elevating your bad cholesterol. Tracking your lipids give you a real picture of any potential cardiovascular strain and long-term arterial health. Then we have kidney function. The kidneys already take a beating from high protein demands, dehydration, and blood pressure fluctuations. And once kidney tissues are damaged, it doesn't easily recover. I always request cystatin C instead of just standard creatinine, because heavy muscle mass and hard training will falsely skew a standard creatinine test. At least cystatin C gives you the truth. Also, liver health. Standard liver enzyme like AST and ALT will almost always read high for bodybuilders, simply because intense lifting temporarily causes muscle damage. GGT is far more specific to actual liver stress, especially if you're utilizing oral compounds. The final one, your E2 or your estradiol, keeping your estrogen balanced relative to your androgen load, is essential for managing blood pressure, joint health, mental clarity, and preventing severe fluid retention or gyno.
While comprehensive blood panels do give you the big picture every few months, the daily data is what keeps me safe in real time. Every single morning starts with checking blood pressure, and when you're running compounds and pushing heavy training, keeping your blood pressure strictly within a normal range is your first line of defense for heart and kidney longevity. Right alongside that is tracking fasting blood glucose to monitor metabolic stress, digestion, and systemic inflammation as calories drop and fatigue climbs. Throwing another hurdle into the mix, navigating this around irregular shift work. When your hours are constantly shifting, you can't rely on a generic 9 to 5 schedule. Instead, I've built modular daily routines based on whatever shift I'm logging in on, and fixed windows for meals, hydration, and sleep no matter what time the alarm goes off.
At the end of the day, chasing your dream physique and testing your limits is an incredible journey, but it should never come at the cost of flying blind with your health. If you're going to push your body to the edge, respect the process, get your data, and manage the variables you can control. Thank you so much for watching. If you found value from this video, make sure to hit that like button, drop your thoughts down in the comments below, and subscribe to follow the rest of this prep. There's just under 3 weeks to go, baby, and it's not far, but we're almost there. I'll catch you guys in the next one.